Right. Well, let's make a start. I am your host, Tom Stafford, AFIRE Program Lead. AFIRE is, of course, RoRI's Accelerator for Innovation and Research Funding Experimentation. RoRI, as I'm sure you know, is the Research and Research Institute. Our core funders on the right here are 10 co-designed projects on the left. And there we are on the bottom row, the AFIRE project focusing on experimentation. And what we really exist to do is to generate awareness and enthusiasm for the potential of fundings in the research and innovation funding system. We want to work with our partners to develop capacity to do bigger, better, more impactful experiments on making the funding system fairer, faster, more effective, and overall build towards a culture of experimentation, which means committing to trying things, but not just trying things, systematically evaluating them, and not just systematically evaluating them, but sharing the results. And that's why I'm really pleased to be here today to hear about some funder experimentation. We've got a kind of three components. We've got the forum. This is where we are right now. Please do go to the webpage and look at some of our previous speakers. This is the 7th of what I think has been a really, really successful series. We've had some really great speakers who've been sharing what they've been doing in their organizations on different topics. You can catch up with recordings, and we're recording today, so the recording for today will be up shortly. Please check back soon. The forum's the beginning of the ramp. In the middle is our capacity building support. So we are about to launch a sprint on evaluating the uses of AI in grant making. This will be running next week for 5 weeks. Registration is now closed. We've got a fantastic set of 20 funders who will be attending this series of workshops, understanding the potential and developing concrete plans for experiments on AI in their use of AI in their organization. And if you're not one of those funders, you haven't missed out, because the demand has been strong enough that we're thinking of rerunning this sprints on this topic, particularly maybe in East Asia, Pacific, and North South America, which may be more time zone friendly for some funders. Look out if you're at the MetaScience 2025 conference in London for our MetaScience Lab, which we're running a matchmaking event, an opportunity for people from across the research system to network and develop plans for experimentation, particularly relevant to you as a funder, because this could be a place where you can seed ideas that you think would make good experiments and recruit other actors in the research system, researchers who could support you to run those experiments. So if you've got an idea for an experiment, something you'd like, a topic you'd like us to consider there, please do get in touch or come along. It's running each of the 3 days of the MetaScience conference. We've got a funder networking drinks, which is being convened by the co-chair of the AFIRE program, Ted Hodap of the Gordon and Betty Moore Foundation. It's set in a wonderful oak paneled Victorian pub near the conference venue in London. Drinks will be served, and there's a chance to discuss the nitty-gritty of grant making. There's a registration form, and I will share the link in the chat, so you don't need to write that down now. But I would love to see you there for some informal discussion about the art and science of funding. And of course, we crack on with actual experiments. This is where the Accelerator aims to launch you off the ramp into doing new experiments and finding out new things about the research funding system. So we have a number of those going on, but we've just picked up a new one, which we're socializing. This is an idea of shadow experiments on desk projections. So looking at research funders who do or are interested in the practice in which non-competitive applications are removed on the basis of scientific quality from the review process at an early stage. If you are interested, you do this or you think this might be something you'd be interested in, we have a short survey where you can express interest. Again, I will put that link in the chat. But today, we are very pleased to have Jan-Ole Hesselberg, who is Chief Program Officer at the Foundation DAM since 2016. Jan-Ole is going to speak for about 30 minutes. Then we're going to turn the recording off and we are going to have some discussion on the Chatham House rule, which is, of course, that you can share what you hear but not attribute to whom you hear it from. You know, I think you are going to be not sharing slides, but you'll be presenting via your video feed. So if you haven't, please make Jan-Ole larger on your screen so you can see his slides, and we will pass over to you.
Thank you very much for the introduction. I'll be talking about 30 minutes. My name is Jan-Ole Hesselberg. I'm the Chief Program Officer at the Foundation DAM in Norway. We are a foundation by and for different health and user organizations here in Norway. We were funded in 1993 and had our first call for proposals in 1996. Our funds come from the National Lottery here in Norway, and we distribute our funds through application processes where applications are sent from pre-approved organizations. They are all screened by the administrative staff and then reviewed by external experts. In 2014, we had 4 programs running. We had 104 reviewers, reviewed 2,600 applications, granted 930 projects, and granted a total of 407 million Norwegian kroners. That's about 35 million euros. And we have about 1,200 ongoing projects. So these are not only research projects, about 250 of them are research projects. We have 4 programs, Express, Health, Development, and Research. 2 of them have continuous research, continuous application processes, and 2 of them have a 2-step process. I'll get into that later. The amounts that you can apply for are very different. So Express, that's very small projects, while research are larger projects. And the project duration is also different between these programs, up to 48 months for the research projects and up to 12 months for the smaller Express projects. And there are between 2 and 5 independent reviews of every application, depending on the program. We are not very big. We are 13 employees, and 2 of us do research and development. We think that's an important part of our work. We think that, as you all know, peer review is resource demanding and it's vulnerable to both poor reliability and validity. So we try to have a continuous critical look at our own processes and do research and do an analysis of our processes, try to look for biases and vulnerabilities in our processes. And sometimes when we do analysis, we also do research. So we published some research papers on our processes. We also did a Cochrane review on reviewer training. That's part of my PhD. I do a PhD in the iterator reliability in grant peer review. We try to share the analysis we do, and in June, the 17th of June, we'll publish the 2nd edition of our report called Improved Application Processing. The first edition was only in Norwegian. Now it'll be translated to English as well. That's 92 pages of analysis and the research and arguments behind why we try to do things the way we do, all the choices we made in our application processing. So we'll do the presentation at 2 o'clock in English. So if you scan the code, you'll get the option to register for the event. I also want to mention that in that event we will launch another project called RAD, the Reliable and Available Data. We'll publish a database with over 200 core variables from our applications, applicants, reviewers, reviews, ongoing projects, from the information from the project progress reports and end reports of the project that will be updated daily, and we'll share the data with anyone who wants to have a closer look at our processes and also do research on our processes. Okay, I'll spend this talk talking about our two processes. We have one continuous application process and then a two-stage process. I'll start with the two-stage process and the background for that process. So in 2018, our research program had another process. So an application was sent, then we had an individual review, 2 independent reviews of the application. Then we had a huge panel meeting where all the reviewers involved in the call for proposals met for a 3-day panel meeting. We gathered 19 reviewers, 2 user representatives, and 8 staff members. 3 days in a hotel, expensive hotel in Oslo. And then based on the discussion in the panel, we made a decision of funding. And then we spent about 70% of our total review costs on this huge panel. Then we asked ourselves the question, what would happen if we based the decisions only on the individual reviews? So if these in this program 17% of the applications were granted. So if these are the grants given out after the panel meeting, the green ones here, or the black ones, it seems like on your screen, are the grants. What would happen if we based the decisions only on the reviews before, the 2 independent reviews before the meeting? We would have ended up with almost the exact same decisions, only 3% of the decisions would be different. So we spent 70% of our costs on changing 3% of our decisions, and we couldn't even say they were better decisions. So a lot changed in the rankings of the applications, but in the end, the decisions didn't change. So that's why we decided to revamp our process. And what we did was introduce a 2-stage application process where the applicants submit a pre-proposal, then that pre-proposal is screened and sent to review. And based on that review, some of the applicants, about 25%, are invited to submit full proposals in the second round. And then they are reviewed, and we have a panel review, small panel review, just small groups of reviewers that meet to discuss a portion of the applications. And based on those reviews, we decide on who gets funded or not. And we aim for about 50% success rate in this second round. This was introduced in our research program in 2020, and we now also use it for our development program since 2023. So why did we do this? We did it mainly to save time. On average, our applicants spent 40.6 man days per application. We also wanted shorter response times. So on average, it took 136 days from the deadline to the final decision. And this two-stage process would be shorter for the majority of the applicants, as they would get rejected after the pre-proposal round. And of course, it would be cheaper than gathering all the entire panel for 3 days in an expensive hotel in Oslo. So the main challenges that we thought of before we did this was that the short proposals might introduce some biases. Maybe some projects are easier to present in a pre-proposal than others. Okay, so this is left from the previous slide, and we were worried about the longer response times for the entire process. So the applicants that go on through to the second round, they would experience longer response times. So this is just an overview of the time spent on writing proposals before we started with this process. So these numbers are in man weeks, so weeks spent at the host institution and weeks spent at the collaborating institutions. And as you can see here, our research program in 2019 had quite similar numbers as reported by the Norwegian Research Council. So at the Norwegian Research Council, a total of 9 weeks. In our program, total of 8 weeks reported by the project, the PI in the application process. Here are some of the results. So we introduced the two-stage process in 2020. And one of our worries, of course, was that it would increase the number of applications, a lot more applications, because it's easier to apply for funds. We expected a lot more applications. And we did get more applications, but not too many. In the 3 years before we introduced this process, we got an average of 288 proposals. And the average after was 319. That's an increase of 11%, but it's not significant. We were also looking at the satisfaction with the process. We asked all our applicants how they have experienced the process. We have a 100% response rate here because they answer when they apply in the survey. And there was a slight reduction in the satisfaction after the transition, but it has increased since. So to summarize the before and after numbers here, before and after we started with this two-stage process, we have a change in the time spent on working on the application, of a reduction of 42% comparing the two before and after. We have slightly more applications. The average response rate, if we look at all the applications, including those that went through to the second round, the average response time is a lot shorter, and the majority get their answer a lot faster because they'll get their rejection after the pre-proposal. And what we also did in this process was that I didn't mention that, but we used the money that we saved for more reviews per application. So we had 5 independent reviews per application. So that also led to the intra-class correlation of the process overall to increase, of course. One worry was that some of the applicants maybe didn't feel like they got the chance to present their project in a reasonable way in the pre-proposal because it was too short. As we see here, we asked our applicants for this information, and in the research program, 72% of the applicants say that the application form is sufficient to present the project. And that number is a bit lower for the development program that we have. If we look at the time saved related to rejections, we estimate that we have saved Norwegian researchers 80 man-years since we started with this process. Okay, so I'll summarize. The main drawback here is we are happy with the process, but the main drawback, I would say, is that it's still a very slow process. It takes about 7 months from the first deadline to the final answer in this process. We think it's suitable for larger projects when planning ahead is key. But we are not sure that we will continue using this process because it's so slow, and because we have really really fallen in love with the next process. That's the continuous application process. So that's why we're looking at other options next year. So the continuous process was introduced in 2022 in the 2 programs, Express and Health. There, the applicants submit an application. It's screened. This application is only in an application form, so there are no attachments in this application. It's screened by the administrative staff, and then it's sent to the reviewers, 2 independent reviewers in Express and 3 independent reviewers in Health, and they have 15 days to do the review. And then based on their review, we grant or we reject the proposals. I'll get back to how we do that. And we guarantee the applicants a response within 45 days. The average is a lot shorter. And then every 2 times a year, our control committee look at the decisions made in January and August for the previous half year. And then the board also looks at the decisions and make adjustments in the call for proposals and the standard operating procedure that we use to run this program. So that's how the decisions are made there. The main reasons why we did this was primarily for user friendliness. The applications can be submitted at any time when it suits the applicants, and the response time will also be shorter. We also expected fewer applications based on the experience from others who had tried this. And fewer applications are, of course, good. We get too many applications, and fewer translates directly into higher success rates for the applicants. And we also expected the workload for the administrative staff and our experts, our reviewers, to be more even. The main challenges were figuring out how to not run out of funds, because if you run out of funds, you suddenly have to have an application deadline, and then all the applicants will know that they have to submit their applications as soon as possible, and then we expected to end up with just being overflooded with applications in January. So we had to be able to keep the program open all year without running out of funds. And we had to avoid that the cutoff scores for when we funded and not didn't vary too much, so that the applicants start speculating in when they should submit the application. And the third drawback, maybe the biggest, is that it's practically impossible to combine with group discussions of applications. When you have to have meetings, you are effectively introducing hidden deadlines. So those were the main challenges. Here are some results. We were hoping for fewer applications, and it seems like this has come true. So we introduced the application, the process in 2020. I'm just referring to one of the programs now, Express, because we didn't, in the other program, we did a lot of other changes, so it's not really comparable before and after. But in this program, the only change that we did was increasing the application amount slightly, so the maximum amount slightly. So we didn't do any other changes, other important changes. The average before we did introduce this process was 1,323 applications per year. After, we had 916, and increasing, it seems like. But the reduction, if you compare the 3 years before and after, is 31%, and it's in the area of being significant. If we do a t-test, it's significant. If we do a man-Whitney, it's not significant. However, at the same time, so this is the number of applications in our research program. So as you can see, it seems like the trend is towards an increase after the corona pandemic. So if we adjust for the trends in the research program and compare the number of applications relative to the research program, this is the trend that we see. So it will start in 2018 with 5 times as many applications in the Express program as in the research program, and end up with around 2 after. So the average before here is 4.3, and the average after is 2.3. So if we adjust for what we believe are the trends in the submittal of proposals to us, this is the result we get. That's a reduction of 47%. The satisfaction in the programs before and after we did this has increased. There was a huge proportion of the applicants that said they were satisfied with the process in advance, but we still see an increase before and after, and the numbers are large, so small changes here are significant. This is the average response time. down 66% in Express and 72% in the program Health. So on average, the applicants get their answer within about 3 weeks. So we think that's a very fast response time. What we're, I think, most satisfied with is probably the algorithm that we have made to try to calculate where to set the cutoff score. So what we do is that we estimate the total number of applications in a current year. We take the number of applications processed divided by the historical proportion of applications processed at that current date. Then we get that estimated number of total applications in the current year that we expect to get in that year. Then we are calculating the number of remaining applications. We just take the estimated number and subtract the number of applications that are already processed or reviewed that year. Then we calculate the total application amount for the remainder of the year. So we just take that number of remaining applications and multiply by the average application amount. Then we estimate the funding success rate for the remainder of the year by taking what's left. We take the estimated total application amount for the remainder of the year and divide the rest of the funding budget by the estimated remaining application amount. Then we get the success rate, the expected success rate for the rest of the year. So let's say that's 42% here. Then we look up that success rate in a score distribution table that's based on historical scores by the review committee. So here we look for 42% in the score distribution table, and that's here. And then we set the cutoff score at 4.88. So we use a scale of 1 to 7 here. And all these calculations are done automatically. We're not sitting down doing this. It's an Excel sheet connected to our database, so it's updated when we click on update. And what we are doing is input this cutoff score in our grant management system, so it's done automatically. And we are very close. It works, this algorithm. We're very close to hitting the budget. So we overspent by 1.6% in the program Health and underspent 1.8% in the program Express. And we are allowed to, by our board, to deviate 10% from our budget. So we're really happy with that. And also, the cutoff score is extremely stable. So last year, the highest score was 4.88, and the lowest score was 4.5 for applications granted. So we think this works really well. For a change, absolutely everyone are happy. So both the applicants, the reviewers, the administrative staff, everyone is happy with this. The main challenge is that it's hard to incorporate group discussions. We generally believe that discussions are good for this, but not always. But we still believe that the pros outweigh the cons here, and we will test it in the program development with larger applications next year. And we'll actually combine the two processes next year. So we'll do a continuous two-step continuous process where applicants can submit pre-proposals in round 1 at any time, get their response within 45 days. Then if they are over a certain cutoff, they are invited to submit full proposals, and then they in the second round can submit full proposals at any time and get their answer within 45 days. And this will more than halve the response time in this process. And when we ask people or our stakeholders, 88% of them say they prefer this two-stage continuous process to what we are using now, the simple two-stage process. So I think I spent my my 30 minutes talking. I'll remind you of this launch. There you will find all these analyses and a lot of other analyses, and in particular some worrying analyses on inter-rater reliability in our processes. And I'll be at the MetaScience conference, and I'll bring some copies of this report as well, so you just reach out and you'll get your copy if you want one. Thank you.